beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight was. And I have to be in here because my phone needs to be charged. So don't mind me. I was outside, but my battery died. So yes, my battery died or was dying. No. So here I am in my car. And anyway, for those of you that are new to my YouTube channel, you can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you could give my videos a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, you can leave a message down below, beep, 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 and you could share my videos with your family, your friends. An ant and a fly. What does it mean when you see an ant and a big huge fly? I mean a fly and a big huge ants. What does it mean? And not only you could share my videos with them, is if you want to get in contact with Starlight, you can through my Instagram, and that is at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, anyone who would love to send any love donations, you can through my Cash App, and I will have that information here. Ping! There it is. So I did just tell you this the other day, and I'm gonna, this time instead of me forgetting what I told you, I'm gonna do it right now. Do it now, Starlight. So Starlight's gonna do it now. So today it's for, hopefully you're single, but you never know. You never know. So this video is supposed to be for singles that are, they're single. Yeah, you're single, right? And you're hoping to find that one. And you're thinking about going on a dating app. So what do you think? What do you think? Do you think the dating app is a good place to find that one? Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Sometimes that, we might try something new, but, by doing something, it might be something that you're afraid of doing, and by facing your fears, you never know. That one that you're searching for might be on, a dating app. So this video is to help people that are thinking about going that direction as far as searching for that one. And I've gone on dating apps many times for many years, mainly the same. I went on one particular dating app. Everything changed now. So I don't even know if there's actually a free dating sites out there these days. Long time ago, there was a dating app called Plenty of Fish, and that was those days, it was free, absolutely free. When I say, but guess what? Starlight did check that out a while back, and it's not free anymore. So number one, you gotta watch out for if any dating app says it's free. Google it, find out, because a lot of them will say free, and what does that mean? It can mean all kinds of crazy stuff. Sometimes those sites are a big information sucking machine, They'll get all your information, you're like, oh, you get all excited, because I've been there many times, and but it is a good way of getting a lot of your information, even personal information, all kinds of stuff. So that's why you really, number one, you want to Google and, is this actually 100% free? What do they mean by free? A lot of the dating apps, they say free, and what I've learned is some of them that will say free. Starlight's been thinking about going. No, I'm kidding. Starlight's not thinking about going on a dating app. Because it's not free. It's not free. I don't think there's any of them out there that are really, really free. What's free mean? So, free could be, and I'll tell you what, you'll get upset when this happens, because it happened to me many, 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 many times. Even the dating apps that were free at one point, and then later on they're like, hey, now we want money. And it could be free, where you do your profile, and you get so excited. Some people do. I really loved all this stuff because I love seeing the questions, like wondering, why did they ask that question? What does that question have anything to do with a dating app? And it was information that wasn't actually used for the guy that was going to search me out. So why am I giving that information, Like, so for an example on that point is like, did you come, like, how many was in your family? Were you the middle child? Were you the firstborn? What does that, why does it wasn't, that information wasn't even for the guy. That information he wasn't even gonna get. So why am I answering that question, So you'll see questions like that where you're thinking, what does that have to do with me finding a man or a woman out there? Why do they need to know? Was I the firstborn, the only, I believe, like, there's information like a psychologist could get, or somebody that studies people that could figure things out by finding out if you were the firstborn, secondborn, were you in the middle, like, Starlight, what was you? Were you the first? No, absolutely not. I was the black sheep, though. I got that down. So a lot of those sites, though, is that you do your whole profile, and then they will let you do a search, and some of them will let you actually send a message, and it's exciting. It's like, you're doing this search, and you find somebody, and you never want to go on the outward appearance. So Starlight learned that a long time ago. Believe me, I've gone with men that were not attractive at all. Even my family told me later on. So it's not about the outside. You really want to get to know the person, what they got to say on their profile. And you got to also know this from the beginning, is it might not even be a person, it could be a robot. It could be, there could be somebody that goes on a dating app that saw you and knows you. They might know you. They're like, oh my, I can't believe it. Starlight's on this site. Starlight, I'm going to make a fake profile, and I'm going to have fun with Starlight on there. What? Why are you doing that to me? You just wasted freaking hours in my life. So you got to be careful. It could be somebody that knows you, and now they're going to make a fake profile, and you can do that. You could do that, make a fake profile, put some other picture on there, handsome guy or handsome, a beautiful lady. I'm not telling you guys and girls to do this, but people do. Somebody could get their kicks off by reaching out to you on a dating app, and you think it's a person, but no, it's somebody screwing with you. So, somebody's just toying with you, So I'm just going to help you out, the do's and do nots, with dating apps. So be careful, and this is why really Starlight would not want to waste her time on a dating app, because you don't know if they're even real, or it could be a robot. It could be anybody on the other end, You never know. It could be somebody at your workplace, They're like, oh my, I work with this lady, or I work with this guy, So you gotta really be wise in what you do. Now, what a lot of people do when they want to protect their identity, they don't put a picture up. They will just have all the information, and it's a good way of actually finding out, to me, it's a good thing to do, but you're not going to get a lot of people checking you out, because most people are more concerned on what you look on the outside than to even get to know what's going on in the inside of you. So you're not going to get a lot of people, wanting to find anything out, because most people, they want to, hey, do you got a pretty face? Do you got a sexy body? Or are you handsome? And are you athletic? That's what most people are, is they're thinking about the wrong kind of things. Is that really love? Is that really love? Thinking about, gotta, so if you're going to use a picture, and doing your profile is so important. You got to really know what are you doing on there, and are you looking for a relationship? What kind of relationship are you looking for? And I had to learn the hard way, is Starlight wanted to get married to somebody, but really, do we just jump on and get married? No, that's not how that works. So if you're really wanting to get to know somebody, and get married to somebody, you really don't want to put the part of getting married. You really want to, searching for friends is a good way to start, because we don't just get on and just get married. You got to find out if, can we even be friends first? And when you write to a person, when somebody, maybe you're found somebody that you're interested with, when the time comes when you're, you can hold a lot of the information inside. You don't have to say a lot. Just find out, do you got anything in common with that person first? You don't have to tell them a whole lot of information, because I'll tell you what, Starlight goofed up on this stuff. I gave so much information, being so honest and so real up front, that I wasted so much time, and energy with a person that, I found out we had nothing to do, and we didn't have anything in common. So you don't want to give all that energy and all that information away. You really want to get right straight to the point on what you want to find out with the people. And once you find out the information that this is never going to work, example, Starlight is that girl. I desire a man that doesn't smoke cigarettes. So that would be a great question to find out. And a lot of times on their profile, of course, you've got to check their profile, read it a couple times, look at their pictures, does it describe the profile? I have to say this, if on the profile says athletic body type, but then the picture says, you're like, that doesn't look like an athletic body type. There's, it could be a red flag. And so you got to really be careful about these profiles. You really want to be honest on your profiles, know what you're looking for, what is it that you're looking for, and put that information on there. And when it comes to a picture, don't put your best out there, because you want to test these people out. Do they just want to get with you because you put the best picture? Starlight did that. I put some hot babies out there. I was like, bam, and I put the wrong kind of pictures out there. Bam. Those were, it was bad. Starlight didn't know what she was doing when I started out, putting really sexy pictures out there, and not that I had my clothes off, but, because now what happened is I was only drawing the guys that were after a sexy hot lady. Most of the guys didn't even read my profile. How do I know this? How do I know that they didn't even read my profile? Well, they would ask me questions that was in the profile. It's like, why? That question's in my profile. And, they reached out to me, and it's a big turnoff for Starlight, is when the first thing they say is, wow, you're good looking, wow, you're beautiful. I know I am, but isn't there something more that I am than just my looks? And these are things that you got to watch out for, and men or women. Guys, are you sexy or are you handsome? What are you? So, if they're just talking about how beautiful you are or how handsome are you, wow, you got a beautiful body. You know what? There's a toilet bowl. Flush it. Flush it. You're wasting your time with those kind of people. If they're just that type of person that's just about your body and your face, and they didn't even read the profile. Didn't you take time to write a profile out so they can read about you? But that now they're asking you questions on the I put all that information in there, so you definitely got to really pay attention and to what these people are writing, and where do they live, does it matter where they live? And I had to learn this. It doesn't really matter where they live, keep your search wide, like and far, they could be, if you live in one state, what? Don't be like Starlight, what Starlight did long time ago. Like I just talked to this man today. Here you got the whole planet, right? And I'm trying to, I don't know if I have anything in here. And there would be a little dot on the planet, and that's where Starlight thought that, I was going to find that one was that little dot in the whole planet Earth. Now that I look at it, that was nuts. Of course, I don't even know where the heck, where it is. Anyway, so you want to have a broad, what? Because if you're looking for the real deal, you shouldn't be in a rush. And just because they live on the other, anywhere, they could be anywhere, So I know, doesn't that complicate things? Because people want to hurry up and meet right away. But I've learned that, get to know them a lot online. Don't be in such a rush to hurry up and meet them. Is that because people can actually, if they want something bad enough, they can make it happen, So you really don't want to have like such a small little dot, on the whole planet of where you think that person is going to be. And like I said, be honest on your profile. In any relationship, that's, you really want to start by being honest, Now, if you're not going to be honest about your profile, then leave it blank. If the dating app will let you leave it blank, leave it blank. Maybe you don't want to talk about that right now. Sometimes they'll have a section that says, I prefer not to answer, or something like that, and you can mark that, and then when the right person comes through, and you feel like you want to talk about that topic, then you can bring it up. So you got to be wise on what you put in your profile. What are you putting in your profile? And like I was saying about free, you got to be careful with these dating apps, because if it's not really free, you could go through all this work of doing the profile and thinking really, okay, because I took this all serious. When I did a profile, I couldn't just do it right there and then. Sometimes I would do most of the profile, then later on I would do all the writing stuff, which, I had to sit with my thoughts and think, what kind of impression do I want to put out there to draw that one in? What can I say to get the right kind of man that I'm searching for, that kind of his attention to, so you want to be wise on what you say and authentic with what you're writing and not fake. You want to be authentic when you write that down, because you really do want to draw the right kind of person in. But you got to be careful with these dating apps, because it could say free. You could go through the whole profile, do all this, get to send a message, and then this is what happened to me many times. you're waiting, you're all excited, you got brave, you got so brave. You're like, oh, I am so good. Look at me. I already reached out to this guy. He doesn't live very far from where I am. I know the area. It's like Lake George is up. You want to go to Lake George. Lake George is a beautiful place to go. So Lake George is an amazing place to go in New York. So wow, he lives out in Lake George. I love that area. So I'm like, wow, he's out in the country setting. And so you're so excited, you sent that person a message. And now it's the waiting thing. Like, I sent him a message, because you got to understand, on dating apps, you don't know if the people go on the dating apps every day. Not everybody goes on the dating apps every day to check out messages. If they're new, they might be shy and all these different things. Or they might, like Starlight would get messages and I didn't respond right away. I didn't respond right away. Because, I don't know. I wasn't ready to respond. But that's good, though. That's good. These are testing grounds, how you could test people, How are they going to react to you? Try to get them mad. I learned that from somebody, Do something that, don't do things that they think you're going to do. Do the opposite, You're thinking, I want you to respond right away, and they don't. They take like a week later, and then they, and then they reach out to you. But on some of these apps, like I was saying about, is it free? Boom, that's when they get you right there. You're like, they sent you a message. You're like, oh, the guy from Lake George. That guy, the guy that likes to go hiking, he sent me a message. So then there's a button. Boom, you push the button, and it's like, now you gotta pay money. But it's the guy from Lake George. What the fuck? I was so excited. I'm like, the guy from Lake George? He's everything I was thinking I was, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink, he doesn't, I loved what his profile said. He's not the bar scene type of guy. He's eating healthy. He's an average looking guy. I wasn't all about his looks, but he looks like he's taking good care of himself. And now I can't even get the message. That's what goes on in free dating apps. So, exactly. You know what that feels like? Some of you like, yeah, Starlight, I was there, this chick. I know, doesn't it hurt? It hurts. You build up, confidence and all this stuff. And, you're facing your fears. You got yourself out there. You took your time on the profile. You pushed the send button. You got brave. You were patient. They responded even quicker than you thought. You actually forgot that you even sent a message. You forgot you even sent, set up a profile. So that is what you got to watch out for, because there are apps out there that they're taking your information. You're putting all this stuff, and they let you pick out so many pictures, so they can even get all your, all your pictures, So the other thing about dating apps is when you pick a picture, like I said, don't try to do your best, Feel people out. You got to be patient with all this stuff, Now some of you are like, well, Starlight, I kind of have to put my best. Well, do what you must, but you want to be authentic and real, and make sure the pictures are good lighting. There's people that put pictures in this, like, I can't really even tell. So you want clear pictures, good lighting, close-ups, The close-ups are really good, and it's really important. And you don't have to do a body shot, test these people out. Hey, can you send me guys will do this, and I don't know about girls, but I've been asked many times. I actually put pictures of me standing, and it was just a nice, beautiful park picture. Nothing in my bedroom, nothing, and so Starlight would put a picture out on the profile. So I had the whole body shot, and then I would have, sorry about that background noise, and then I had a close-up picture of my face, and then the man or men would reach out to me and say, "Can you send pictures?" And I'm thinking, when I started out, Starlight was naughty. Pictures, you gotta ask, what kind of pictures do you want me to send? What kind of pictures do you want me to send? Well, I want body pictures. Oh, well, I had to smarten up on my dating apps, because in the beginning, there's a way that you could send pictures through those, as long as it's free, or maybe you have to pay, is you could send a picture. Most of them should be where you could send it on the messenger part of the profile. That way, and you don't want to give your email addresses away. If you really got to be careful with that, and telephone numbers. You really don't want to, Starlight had to learn the hard way there. You really don't want to give that information. There's going to be people out there, I'm going to pick on guys more than women. I think it's more of a man thing, there's men out there that will pest you. And it reminds me of a little bratty little child. When they were little, they always got their way. And when they became an adult, they're the same way. They didn't change. So because they always got their way, when they somehow or another always got their way. And so as an adult, they think, hey, I'm going to ask you for your number. And, you say, sorry, but I'm not giving a number. And they will keep on pestering you. They're hoping that eventually that you're going to cave in and give the number. I'll tell you what, when that particular type of person reaches out to you and they don't respect when you say no is no, flush them. Flush them. Because if you goof up and you give them the number, those are the ones that you're going to have a hard time getting rid of, because they're going to be that type of energy, nagging you and pestering you and, annoying you. So you got to really be careful about the kind of information that you put out there. You don't want to, sometimes it is even wise to have like a fake name in the beginning. And, like I could say my name is Starlight, and so you want to be wise of like what kind of name, because there are people, if you tell them your real name on a dating app, and you can tell them later on when you've realized that they're worth shooting for, but most of the ones you're gonna flush, right down the drain, because they're not worth your time and energy. And that is what you gotta be patient about dating apps, is that you gotta protect your identity, because now these days with the technology, they might even be able to figure out who you are even with a picture. And so these days you might not even want to have a picture until they prove themselves that they're worthy enough to even get that kind of information. And the dating apps is a lot of data collectors, is that information could be sold somewhere else. And so you really do want to read the information, when you join these free apps. It could say, hey, what is this information going to get used for? They could be selling your information. And some people might think, hey, I don't care. I just want to get hooked up with a girl. I don't, because we all do that. I don't care. I just want to get hooked up with a guy, because there's something quite not right with us when we act that way. We're too impatient and not keeping ourselves safe. And so you definitely want to protect yourself. So you might want to, have a nickname to go by, until they prove themselves, and then you can tell them later on, hey, I got to protect myself. There's nothing wrong protecting yourself and your identity on these dating apps. These are things I didn't do, but these are things I'm telling you now is that you don't want to, when it comes to dating apps and really being serious about meeting somebody, it wouldn't be a bad thing to buy a cheap phone. People do this. Hackers do this a lot. So hackers do this a lot, or even people that have something that they're hiding. You could just, if you have a different way of getting a number, giving them a number and having them reach you a different way where it's not to all your bank accounts, it's not connected to your Google account and all that. It's best to just have a different number that if you later on want to give them the number, it's not a number that's connected to all your stuff. If you ever think about, there's going to be a time that you're going to want to meet this person, and you got to, there's ways to draw them, and this is what you got to watch out for. There's people out there that are scammers, and what they want to do is they want to get you off the dating app because they know that police officers and investigators are on there, or even the people that own those companies, that they do investigate and they watch certain things. And now these days that they have AI or whatever tools that they can use. So because there's a lot of crazy things that can happen on dating apps. There could even be, adults trying to get with little girls on a dating app, young girls. So, because sometimes teenagers will lie about their ages because they want to meet somebody, and they will, there's teenagers that will lie about their age and say they're a certain age and do a profile, and they could be underage. So, and there's, these are crazy things that go on these dating apps. So, also the other thing that goes on is, like I said, hackers will go on there trying to get your identity and trying to get information from you. People will blackmail you on those things if you're not wise in what you do and what kind of information. Take it from somebody that knows. And that's why you got to really be careful. They're going to want people that are a lot of times up to no good. They're going to keep on pressing you to give them an email address, and they could have all kinds of excuses why they want you, off that dating app. You really want to stay on the dating app as much as possible because that's actually safer than getting pulled, because they're going to want to, they're up, especially, it doesn't matter whether you're a guy or girl, because there's girls on these dating apps that are prostitutes. Did I say that? And there's guys out there that are looking for prostitutes. This really goes on dating apps. So you got to really be careful, guys and women. It's not just the women that need to watch their ass. Guys, yeah, you. Girls, learn your weak area. You know what your weak area is? Your second brain. I'm just kidding. So girls know the guy's weak area. They get to feel you out on a dating app. And many times, men that haven't had sex in a long time, they will actually put that out there. They will say, hey, woe is me. I haven't gotten laid in freaking years. And, they'll make it sound like it's up to that woman to take care of that problem. And it's not, ladies. It's not your problem. It's his. So, that is how you got to be careful, guys out there, with the kind of information, because you could get mixed up with a girl and thinking she's the one to get hooked up with, but she could be a prostitute, you know. And so you do really got to protect yourself on these dating apps, because you're going to have people that and that's why they do have investigators and police officers on those sites, because these things happen more than you really would think. I would never pay money for a dating app, because there's so many fake profiles on there and robots. It would be a waste of my time and energy and money, and I have paid before to go on dating apps. So Starlight would discourage you from ever going on a dating app. But I wanted to make this video. The best way to meet someone is in person. Not at the bar scene, not at the casino, but is meet them out in person. And so Starlight, I did make a video a long time ago, but I accidentally deleted it. So I would like to make that another video. Is how do you do that? How do you a lot of guys, there's guys that are really brave. I give them a lot of credit. There's a lot of brave guys out there that will introduce themselves to women out in the world, but not all guys are brave. Not all women. It's not always up to a man to be able to reach out to somebody out in public to find out if maybe you got anything in common. But you always want to take things slow, no matter what you decide to do. I could talk forever on dating apps, but I really just want you to know is that you got to protect yourself on the dating apps. Is really there's different ways. I know that there's ways that people where it will protect you. You can Google that. I know that there's ways. There might even be an app that you can download somehow or another where you can contact people, but they can't hack into your stuff. You really want to keep yourself safe. That's the biggest thing about dating apps, because there are people, and that's why you don't want to send pictures, like behind the scenes pictures, with your face, because there are people out there waiting for you, because they're going to expose you, and because they're going to blackmail you, and they're going to threaten you and tell you that that they want your money, and you'll be like, I'm not gonna give you money. Well, you gave them all these pictures and all this stuff, and so you really got to be careful, because they can use all that stuff later and say, hey, you better give me that money, or I'm gonna spread this all over the internet. And you might be that person that doesn't want that to happen, and they could just be making that up to scare you, so you give them what they want. So you got to really be careful, guys and women, on dating apps. So I guess I'm going to have to change the title. I could go on forever, because there's so much information on dating apps of the do's and do nots. But the main thing is about protecting yourself. You're learning this from Starlight, because she learned the hard way. I did all the wrong things when I was on dating apps, and I'm not embarrassed about it, because those were all lessons. They were all lessons of what not to do. A lot of times those dating apps will tell you what not to do, but we're human. We think, that's not going to happen to me. I'm not worried about that. And then it does. So I do want to make a part 2 on this, because there's so much more that I can talk about in different things on dating apps, because it is so important. There's a lot of people that get desperate, and they're lonely, and you're the type of people that these other people are waiting for, is somebody like you that is tired of being alone and tired of being single, and that are desperate. They just want, and that's why you really got to take, especially men, you really need to be careful what you're doing behind closed doors, because you got to control this brain here is got to be the one in charge. not your second brain. You don't want your second brain to be in charge, because that's when you're going to find yourself getting in a whole lot of freaking trouble. You really are. You got to be sharp up here. Don't let your second brain be the one running you, because that second brain is going to put you in places that you may never get out of, you know. And that goes with women too, is, you know, women, you have a second brain too. Don't let that be the thing that puts you in a dangerous situation that you might not be able to get back out of. So I love you. I hope you get a lot of help from this video. I love talking about these topics because I went through a lot on dating apps, and I would discourage you really from ever even going on a dating app. So I love you so much. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace. Thank you for watching. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace.